Hi, this is James Melendez, James, a wine guy, here to share this bottle with you today. This is Del Carlo. It's an old vine Zinfandel, 2007 vintage, 15% alcohol content, Dry Creek Valley, and this is from the home ranch vineyard in Dry Creek Valley. So, as I've talked before, I've been to this vineyard, and it's a wonderful place to visit. And, experiencing this at the grape harvest was amazing. And you have a greater appreciation for the old vines, and it's fascinating to see how they exist in across the planet. I don't think there's been a phenomenon quite as extensive as Prohibition, and Prohibition was terribly unhelpfully destructive to the wine industry in the entire wine growing regions in California. But there were a few that survived, and I think it was survived because there were some exceptions to Prohibition, such as sacramental wines, and the other portion would have been personal consumption. So you kind of wonder, you see a big vineyard like this, and there are many that exist in California that are pre-Prohibition, and wow, how did they survive? And I think that's kind of like the thing that we talk about in general, which is, yeah, well, that is why Prohibition ultimately failed. But it's one of those fun side notes, and the documentary Prohibition by Ken Burns highlights that quite well. Now, this wine it's a really gorgeous wine, and I think that there's Zinfandel is coming into its own, and I think it's coming into its own because it's finally being accepted as a really amazing food pairing wine. It's an amazing wine on its own, and its variety in terms of its capabilities and stylistic inputs are just phenomenal. And I think that's just the great story of this varietal. It has a lot to give. And I think the part that Zinfandel is just coming away from is just this. It's had to struggle for its survival in a different way, which is you have a varietal or something called a style called white Zinfandel. Well, in many ways, it's neither. It's that really did a lot to I think blemish Zinfandel, non-adulterated Zinfandel. Zinfandel on its own, 100%, or even a slight admixture of maybe Petit Syrah or other varietals. And I think that was the part where it had cheapened the whole category, which was totally ridiculous because Zinfandel on its own is phenomenal. And I think that's unfortunate. Again, side note, that really Zinfandel producers have had to really work hard against, because it is something that is paired with that. That's unfortunate. But I think there's the opportunity is to hone away from that. Fewer people are drinking white Zinfandel. Yes, it's still, people drink a lot of it, but I think ultimately at a certain period of time, those numbers will decrease rapidly. And I think the bona fide wines, dry quality wines like Zinfandel, are fantastically nice. And you have a Zinfandel advocates and producers who has an annual showing in San Francisco, and it's a grand tasting, and it is a grand tasting. Where else can you try so many Zinfandels in one place? And I think the highlight there is that it's just showing how many amazing Zinfandels that are produced in California, and how it is a heritage grape. And the heritage grape speaks to California, but also speaks to Croatia. So I'll take a little taste of this one and tell you what it's like. What I love about the scent of this is it smells like a just freshly cut black creme heirloom tomato. It's that freshness, that tartness, juiciness that that these wonderful tomatoes, one of my favorite heirloom tomatoes, produces. And I think that's one of the highlights here. I'm getting a lot of both early and mid-season cherries. So this cascading effect between alternative note characteristics or flavor characteristics between the light season red cherry and the darker mid-season darker red or blacker cherry. Getting notes of some fennel in here, white pepper, getting a little bit of chocolate dust, and I'd say finishing off some cardamom. So a little bit of delicate spices on the finish. I give this wine a 9.2 out of a 10.0 scale. For more reviews, please go to jamesthewineguy.com. Please subscribe to my videos on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Vimeo. Salud.